We're giving your room to Jason's girlfriend. Mom announced over Sunday dinner like she was discussing the weather. You have 2 days to pack up and find somewhere else to live. The silence stretched. Then I laughed. Not the reaction they expected. Hi, I'm Aria, and I'm 24 years old. For as long as I can remember, I've been the family disappointment. While my older brother Jason got praised for every tiny achievement, I was the one they forgot to invite to family photos. I work as a freelance graphic designer, which my parents love to remind everyone isn't a real job. I've spent years watching Jason be treated like the prized child while I got the leftover attention. Every family gathering, every holiday, every celebration revolved around him. When he got a C in college, they threw a party. When I graduated with honors, they asked if I was finally going to get serious about my career. The thing is, I'd gotten used to being invisible. I'd learned to keep my head down, work quietly, and not expect much. But what happened that night at dinner changed everything. It was the moment I realized that sometimes being underestimated is actually your biggest advantage. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button if you've ever felt invisible in your own family. And I have a feeling some of you watching know exactly what it's like to be the family afterthought while someone else gets all the glory. That Sunday dinner started like any other family gathering. Mom had made her famous pot roast, and the dining room smelled like rosemary and false cheerfulness. Jason had just gotten promoted to assistant manager at some retail store, and you'd think he'd cured cancer from the way everyone was carrying on. "We're so proud of you, honey," Mom gushed, refilling his wine glass for the third time. "Assistant manager at 26. You're really making something of yourself." Dad nodded enthusiastically. "That's my boy." Finally stepping up and taking responsibility. I sat there picking at my carrots, used to being part of the furniture during these Jason appreciation ceremonies. But then Mom cleared her throat in that way that meant she had an announcement. "Speaking of taking responsibility," she said, glancing at Dad, "we've made a decision about the house." Jason's girlfriend Sarah squeezed his hand and smiled like she already knew what was coming. "We're giving Jason's old room to Sarah," Mom continued. "It's bigger, and they're practically living together anyway. It makes sense." I looked up. "But that's my room now. I've been living there for 2 years." "Well, it's not like you're ever here anyway," Dad said, cutting into his roast. "You're always locked away with that computer, doing whatever it is you do." "What I do is work, Dad. I have clients and deadlines." Jason laughed. "Come on, Aria. Making little logos and websites isn't exactly a career. Sarah and I need the space. We're planning our future." "And what exactly am I supposed to do?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom waved her hand dismissively. "You're 24, sweetie. Maybe this will motivate you to finally get your life together. Find a real job, get a real apartment. It's time to grow up." "You have 2 days," Dad added, not even looking at me. "That should be plenty of time to pack up your things." The silence that followed felt heavy. They all stared at me, waiting for tears or arguments or begging. Instead, something clicked inside me. All those late nights working while they slept, all those client calls they dismissed as unimportant, all those times they asked me to help out financially without ever acknowledging where that money came from. I smiled. "Actually, I think I'll need less time than that." The next morning, I woke up to the sound of locks clicking. Not metaphorical locks, actual, physical locks being changed on the front door. I threw on a hoodie and rushed downstairs to find a locksmith packing up his tools while Mom supervised from the porch. "Mom, what's going on?" She didn't even look embarrassed. "We decided not to wait. Sarah's moving her things in today, and we thought it would be easier this way." "Easier? You locked me out of my own house?" "It's not your house, Aria. It's ours. And we told you yesterday, you have time to get your things." That's when I noticed my belongings. Boxes and garbage bags piled up in the garage like I was having a yard sale nobody wanted to attend. My clothes, my books, my art supplies, all shoved into containers like unwanted donations. "You went through my room?" "Sarah needed to see the space," Mom said, finally meeting my eyes. "Don't be so dramatic, everything's there." I stood in that driveway, looking at my entire life reduced to cardboard boxes, and something inside me shifted. This wasn't just about a bedroom anymore. This was about years of being treated like I didn't matter. Later that day, my phone buzzed with notifications from the family group chat. Jason had added Sarah to it, and they were having a field day. Jason finally got the crazy artist out of the good room. Lol. "Sarah, I can't wait to redecorate. That weird art stuff was so depressing. Mom, maybe this will teach her some responsibility. Dad, tough love, she'll thank us later. I screenshotted every single message. But the final betrayal came 3 days later. I was scrolling through Instagram when I saw it. Jason had posted a photo of his room, completely redecorated in Sarah's Pinterest aesthetic, with the caption, "Finally have a real adult bedroom. Thanks Mom and Dad for helping us upgrade from my little sister's art cave, sent adulting, new beginnings." The comments were full of heart emojis and congratulations. Nobody asked what happened to the previous occupant. Nobody wondered where I was sleeping. What they didn't know was that while they were patting themselves on the back for their tough love, I was putting the final pieces of my plan into place. All those late nights they thought I was wasting time, all those fake projects they mocked, every single one of them was about to pay off in a way they never saw coming. I'd spent years being the family disappointment, the one they could push around without consequences. But I'd also spent years quietly building something they couldn't even comprehend. And now it was time to show them exactly what their failure daughter had been up to. What they didn't know was that their failure daughter had been quietly building something they couldn't even imagine while they slept peacefully in their beds upstairs. For the past 3 years, while they dismissed my computer time as playing around, I'd been running one of the most successful anonymous lifestyle blogs in the country. Every night after their condescending dinner conversations, I'd go upstairs and write content that millions of people read religiously. My pseudonym had brand partnerships with major companies. My digital courses sold out within hours of launching. Those little logos and websites Jason mocked? They were just my side hustle. My real income came from a place they'd never think to look, because they'd trained themselves not to see me as anything more than their disappointing youngest child. The phone calls they always told me to keep down? Those were strategy sessions with my business manager about 6-figure deals. The packages that arrived for me that they barely glanced at? Marketing materials and products from companies begging to work with me. I'd been financially independent since I turned 22, but I'd never told them. Why would I? They'd made it clear that nothing I did would ever impress them. So I let them think I was struggling, let them believe I needed their roof over my head, let them feel superior while I quietly built an empire they couldn't comprehend. But now they'd pushed too far. They wanted to treat me like I was nothing? Perfect. Because what they were about to discover was that their nothing daughter had become everything they pretended to be, and I'd done it all without their help, support, or even basic respect. The family who thought they knew me was about to meet the real Aria for the first time. Emma found me sitting on her couch 3 days later, laptop balanced on my knees, fielding emails from clients while my family probably assumed I was crying into a pillow somewhere. "They actually put your stuff in garbage bags?" she asked, setting down 2 mugs of coffee. "Like I was a roommate who didn't pay rent," I said, not looking up from my screen. 24 years of living there, and they bagged up my life in an afternoon. Emma had been my best friend since 3rd grade. She was also the only person who knew the truth about my income, mainly because she helped me manage my social media accounts when things got busy. "You know what this is, right?" she said, settling beside me. "This isn't about the room. This is about control. They've always needed you to be the failure, so Jason could be the success story." "I know. Do you though? Because you've been letting them treat you like this for years." I finally looked at her. Not anymore. While I was having this revelation, my family was getting comfortable with their new reality. Mom posted Facebook photos of Sarah's room makeover with captions like, "So proud of my son and future daughter-in-law for taking this big step." Dad shared articles about teaching your adult children independence through tough love. But the real kicker came when Jason started making jokes about my homelessness. To anyone who'd listen, Emma showed me the texts from mutual friends asking if it was true that I was couch surfing because I couldn't afford rent. They actually thought they'd broken me. They thought kicking me out would force me to come crawling back, begging for forgiveness and promising to be more grateful for their generosity. Instead, I spent that week putting together the most satisfying presentation of my life. Every screenshot, every bank statement, every contract that proved exactly who I'd become while they weren't paying attention. Jason's promotion party was in 5 days. The whole extended family would be there to celebrate the golden boy's latest achievement. Perfect timing for my own little announcement. This is the part where everything changed. Are you ready for it? Because what happened at that party is something I'll never forget. Jason's promotion party was exactly what you'd expect. backyard barbecue, extended family everywhere, and a banner that literally said, "Congratulations, Assistant Manager Jason," hanging between two trees like he'd won an Olympic medal. I showed up wearing my best dress and carrying a folder that was about to change everything. "Aria," Aunt Linda rushed over. "Honey, I heard about the living situation. Are you doing okay?" Before I could answer, Jason appeared with Sarah attached to his arm like an expensive accessory. "Oh, look who decided to show up," he said loud enough for nearby relatives to hear. "How's the couch surfing going, sis?" The conversations around us started dying down. People were listening now. "Actually, Jason, I'm glad you brought that up," I said, opening my folder. "Because I have some news to share with everyone." Mom and Dad pushed through the crowd, looking annoyed that I was stealing Jason's spotlight. "Aria, this isn't the time," Mom hissed. "No, I think it's perfect timing," I said, pulling out the first document. "See, everyone's been so worried about my living situation. So I thought you'd all like to know that I just put an offer on a house." The backyard went silent, except for Uncle Mike's music playing from his Bluetooth speaker. "A house?" Dad laughed. "Aria, you can't afford a house. You don't even have a real job." I smiled and pulled out my bank statements. "These are from my business accounts, the ones connected to my blog that has 2.3 million subscribers, the same blog that brought in $470,000 last year." You could have heard a pin drop. "That's impossible," Jason stammered. "Remember all those times you told me to get serious about my career?" I continued, addressing the whole crowd now. "While you were celebrating Jason's retail promotion, I was building a business that out-earns both your salaries combined." I turned to my parents, who looked like they'd seen a ghost. "You said I had 2 days to get my stuff out because I needed to learn responsibility. You were right about one thing. I did need to learn something. I needed to learn that my worth doesn't depend on your approval." I closed the folder and looked each of them in the eye. "You gave me 2 days to get my stuff out. I'm giving you 2 minutes to process that you'll never see me again." And with that, I walked away from the family that never deserved me in the first place. 6 months later, I'm writing this from my home office in the house I bought with cash. It's got 3 bedrooms, a wraparound porch, and the most beautiful garden I've ever seen. Emma lives 10 minutes away, and my chosen family of real friends comes over every Sunday for dinner. My parents tried calling for weeks after the party. First angry voicemails about how I embarrassed the family, then confused messages asking why I wasn't answering, and finally desperate attempts to work things out. I blocked their numbers after Jason left a drunken message calling me selfish for abandoning the family that raised me. What they never figured out was that I'd been quietly helping them financially for 2 years. Those mysterious payments that covered Dad's medical bills when he hurt his back? That was me. The anonymous donation that kept Mom's book club running when they couldn't afford meeting space? Also me. Now they're scrambling to figure out how to manage without their safety net. Meanwhile, Jason's still an assistant manager. Sarah moved out after 3 months, and my childhood room sits empty because they can't afford to heat the whole house anymore. They wanted me gone in 2 days. I gave them forever. And honestly, I've never been happier. If this story hit close to home, you're definitely not alone. Family toxicity is way more common than people want to admit. Drop a comment and tell me about your own experience with being underestimated by the people who should support you most. Smash that like button if you believe your worth isn't determined by how your family treats you, and subscribe for more stories about finding your strength when everyone else counts you out. On your screen, 2 stories are calling you. Click and watch them now. Each one more gripping than the last.